Hi, welcome to yourbarconsultant.com's course on how to make a gross profit margin calculator in Excel. Learn the profit margin formula and get high profits in your business. So what is this course about? Well, it's about how to create a gross profit calculator using your business. What will I learn from the course? Using gross profit calculations and some simple Excel spreadsheet skills. What can you use the information learned on this course for? For enhancing your Excel skills, helping choosing the right products based on prices from your suppliers, setting your retail prices correctly, and maximizing on your profits. But what is gross profit margin? Well, it's the percentage of the money you make selling a product or service after the deductions of the costs. So a simple way to look at gross profit is this: the price you sell an item for minus what you bought it for equals the gross profit. So gross profit margin would be this: the price you sell an item for minus what you bought it for divided by the price you sell an item for, and that equals your gross profit margin. So to write gross profit margin down as a percentage, we do this. It's the gross profit margin that we've just calculated multiplied by 100 equals GP percentage. And GP percentage is the way of writing gross profit margin in a shorthand, and it'll be what most people doing this course are used to seeing, and it'll be what you'll be using a lot once you've learnt it. So what's the difference between gross profit and net profit? Well, gross profit is the profit made on the difference between the retail price and the cost of the goods sold, and net profit is the profit made from that after VAT is deducted. And net profit could be after any number of deductions, but on this course we're only talking about VAT. So gross profit margin versus net profit margin. So in our examples, the gross profit margin and the net profit margin are the same thing, and this is true if, when calculating the gross profit margin, we use all gross costs and gross revenue figures, and when calculating the net profit margin, we use all net costs and net revenue figures, and net in this example is after VAT is deducted. So let's look at an example to show this. So using gross revenue figures of £50 for the retail price of an item and using £20 for the gross cost of that item to buy in, we have £50 minus £20 divided by the £50 again, and that gives us 0.6. So we can say that we have a gross profit margin on the item of 0.6. And if we multiply that by 100, we can now see that we have a gross profit margin percentage of 60%. But let's have a quick look at how to add and remove VAT from items. So we're here in the United Kingdom, and the rate of VAT at the moment is 20%. So to add VAT to a net cost or net retail price, in order to get the gross figure, you must multiply that net cost or retail price by 1.2. But if, for example, the rate of VAT was 17.5%, as it was in the recent past in the United Kingdom, then you would multiply the net cost or net retail price by 1.175. So to remove that from a gross cost or gross retail price, you must divide the gross cost or gross retail price by 1.20. So for our example, we need to remove the VAT from the gross cost of £20 and the gross retail price of £50. So we have £20 divided by 1.2, and that gives us a net cost of the item of £16.67. And we have £50 as our gross retail price, and if we divide that by 1.2, we have a net retail price of £41.67. So let's use these two figures in our example to show the net profit margin. So using the net revenue of £41.67 from the retail price and using £16.67 for the net cost of the item to buy in, we have £41.67 minus £16.67 divided by £41.67 again, and that equals 0.6. So we can say that we have a net profit margin of 0.6. And if we multiply that by 100, we can now say that we have a net profit margin of 60%. And if you remember, from the same example using gross costs and gross revenue, it was the same profit margin. So now that we understand the difference between gross profit and gross profit margin, how to add VAT to a net cost on sale price, how to remove VAT from a gross cost or sale price, we can now look at creating a spreadsheet to do all of this for us. So here we are in Microsoft Excel. We're going to be making this spreadsheet in Excel. If you don't have that, you can use Google Docs, you can use OpenOffice, whatever it is that you use. As long as it's a spreadsheet, you can do some calculations, you'll be able to make this. It's really simple. Don't worry too much about the layout because, like I say, it's very simple. You can make it look however you want. You can change the colors, move it around. Just the main point is learning how to put these calculations in and to get the right answers. Once you've done this, you can expand on it. You could make it as complicated as you like, but the fundamentals need to be in there. So we're going to actually make two things. We're going to make a gross profit calculator, and then we're also going to use these other things which I've highlighted under tools, which are setting your VAT rate, and also a net to gross calculator and a gross to net calculator. I'll just show you what these do, and then we'll go on to another tab and we'll start to make one. So as I explained earlier, to get a gross figure you have to add VAT to it from a net figure, and as we're in the UK, we're using 20% net figure. So if I wanted to add VAT to a product that costs, say, £10, using this calculator here, I can just put 10, press enter, and it tells me that the gross cost is 12, and that is because it's 10, add the VAT, and that is 12. And then you can do the reverse of that as well. If you've got the gross cost of something and you want to take the VAT off it, so let's just use the same figures. Let's just say, right, 12, and we press enter, and it goes down to 10. Or if you bought something that was 20 and you wanted to remove the VAT, again, it will go down to 16.67, which you probably remember is the figure that we had in the example before. So I'm just going to get rid of these two now, and I'll show you what happens on the other side. So on the gross profit margin calculator, we have our net cost. So let's use an example of buying a bottle of vodka. So just for example, let's say that you bought a bottle of vodka from your supplier for £14 net, and it's a 28 shot bottle of vodka, so it's got 28 shots in it. So let's say 28. So we now know that the net cost of each of those shots of vodka that you buy from your supplier costs you 50p. Okay, so now we need to know how much do we sell that to the public for. Well, if it's 50p, we want to be selling it for more, so we can work it out. So if we sold it, for example, as £3, so the public pay £3 as a gross price, we have to pay the VAT on it, so we only actually get £2.50. We would end up with an 80% GP. Okay, so if your bar, nightclub, your pub works on a gross profit margin of 70, for example, we can work out what the lowest price we can sell that for to the public, so we're still hitting a 70% GP. And just so you know, we're only doing this for the vodka. We're not adding any cokes, anything to it. We're just talking about the actual spirit price. So £2.50 is still higher than 70%, so we could potentially sell it for cheaper. £2.30, let's say £2. Okay, there you go, £2. So if we sell that to the public for £2, once we've paid our VAT on that, we still get a 70% gross profit margin on that. So just going back to the tools, this is a £14 net bottle of vodka. So if we wanted to know how much that would be gross, let's use our calculator here. So let's use the net to gross because it's already net. So 14, that means that if you were to buy that from a supermarket, for example, it would cost you £16.80. And then once you take the VAT off it, it's £14. So let's just blank these out. And also what I've done here, I've made it so that you can change the VAT rate. Hopefully the VAT won't change. It has done before, So if it was to be like it was a few years ago, it would be 17.5. That would mean that this calculator would work it out at 17.5%. So what we're going to do, I'm going to set up a blank sheet here, and then we can use this as our example. So we're going to use this spreadsheet to make this. So what we need to do first is set up these boxes. So we need net cost, yield, and then the net unit cost. So let's set up 3 cells. So net cost, yield, and then the net unit cost. And if you click on there, it will make it as big as the writing. So yield is what's inside the bottle or the keg or whatever it is. It's how many it holds. So for example, if you had an 11-gallon keg of lager and it cost you £70, its yield in number of pints that you can sell, there are 88 pints in that 11-gallon keg, which would mean that you could serve 88 pints at a cost of £70. So what's the formula we need to work out the net cost? Well, it's just the net cost divided by the yield will give you the net unit cost. So we know that B3 divided by C3 will give us the net unit cost per pint of 0.7954, which is quite a long, so we can make it a bit shorter by pressing these buttons, and it will take down it to 0.80. So if you probably noticed that I had a formula here, and the reason for that is if I took out one of these, you get an error. So I put an if error formula in there, which will mean that if there is a number missing, it just stays as naught and it doesn't give us any horrible numbers. So it would be equals if error and then we just do exactly the same. We do this divided by that, and then we can do this. So if I take this out now, I just get a naught. I don't get the horrible div sign. Okay, so we now know that the net unit cost is that. So now we can work out our gross profit margin. So we need gross sale price, net sale price, gross sale price, net sale price, and then GP percentage, which you remember is gross profit margin. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, anything that's got a colour in it are cells that you should be writing in. If they're not coloured, you shouldn't be writing in it. So which means that this one and this one are formulas. So the net sale price. So we know that the gross, take away the VAT, is the net sale price. So like before, it would be the gross price divided by the rate of VAT. So we need to know what the rate of VAT is. So on this one, as I showed you before, I put 20% in there and we got 0.2. So what I've done here is I've just divided that by 100, so we know that it's 0.2. So what we should do is, let's put our rate of VAT over here, and we'll do just what I did before there, and we'll divide that by 100, which gives us 0.2. And we can use these for when we do our net to gross calculators in a second. We can still use these same cells because there's no point in writing the rate of VAT in twice when we can use it for the same two. So as you can see here, we have the gross sale price divided by the rate of VAT. So if you remember before, it was divided by 1.20. So the easiest way of doing that is 1 plus 0.2. So we can say that the net sale price equals the gross sale price divided by 1 plus 0.2. And the reason why we can do it like that is if we do want to change our VAT rate, it will just change with the formulas and we don't have to change anything else. So if, like in the examples before, the gross sale price was 50, we know that this goes down to 41.66, and we can take that down and get it to 41.67 like we had before. Okay, and then our GP percentage, it was what we sold it for minus what we bought it for divided by what we sold it for. And as you can see, I've put some error trap in here as well, so we can write that in. So let's put in our GP margin. So if you remember before, we said that if you want to calculate your GP, you have to use the net costs and the net revenue, or the gross costs and the gross revenue. So in this case, we're going to use net sale revenue and net unit cost. So we go what we sold it for net, take away what we bought it for net, divided by what we sold it for net. And we can put in our brackets again. Okay, and we get a GP of 98%, and that's because we've got a pint of lager selling for £50. So let's just change that to £4, for example, and we get 76% GP. If we put in our error trap in, so if error, that'll tidy up in case we delete that, for example. There we go. So now we buy it for 80p, we sell it for £4 gross, £3.33 net, and we get a GP of 76. So let's just double check that on this. So we have £70 for a keg of lager. You get 88 pints, and we sell it for £4, and we get 76% GP. 76.14. Let's round that down. Okay, so if we times that by 100, so if we press this button here, we get 76. Let's add a couple of percentages here. So we get 76.14%. So that's our GP percentage. Okay, so we can write in here gross profit margin calculator. Okay, so now let's do our other two tools. So we'll do a net to gross calculator and a gross to net. So let's write that in. Net to gross calculator, and we had net and gross, so let's write those in there. Net and gross. Okay, so let's use an example of the £16.67 that we had before. So we want to add VAT onto that. So what we do is we take our net and you times it by the rate of VAT. So that's 1 plus the 0.2 we've got here. So that's 1 plus the 20%, which should give us £20, but it's rounded quite far. So let's take that down a bit and we get to £20. So let's do the same but the other way around, gross to net, and then let's take £20, and then we need to divide that by the rate of VAT. So that's 1 plus 0.2, and then we get down to 16.67 again. Okay, so that is a really simple net to gross and gross to net calculator. And we can write some stuff in here just to make it nice and neat. So rate of VAT, and then we can use the merge and center tool there, and then we put VAT rate, and then we can put a little percentage sign there, And then, like I said before, you can write in these cells. So let's make them a color. You can write in that cell. You can write in this one. You can write in that. And that one. Okay. So this isn't a tutorial on formatting. Like I say, you can make these look however you want. You can make them more complicated. It's more about getting your head around these formulas. Okay, so once you've used that, you can make another spreadsheet that looks a lot prettier than the one I did. I will be putting links to these so you can download them. So you'll be able to use this one. You can change it, but I would suggest that you do try and do it yourself, so just to get used to them. So thank you very much for watching this course. I really do hope that you get some value out of it. Please do visit the website at www.yourbarconsultant.com. There's some other free tools there that you can get hold of. There's some free ebooks. You can sign up to our mailing list. Lots of blog posts there. The mailing list will tell you when there's a new blog post out. Lots of good content. You can also leave us some comments. You can ask us some questions. If there's a subject you want to know about, just let us know. You can email us. Just get in contact and we can help you out. Thank you very much, and like I say, I hope you get some good usage out of this tool. Thank you.